on the way. Kick is up. End over end kick is no good. He missed it. He missed it wide right. He missed it wide right. Washington 36, Oregon 33 in a classic.
Well, I think I speak for all Husky fans in saying that highlight, that clip right there, will never, ever get old. Oregon may have the Kenny Wheaton game, but Husky fans now have wide right, baby. We are back talking Huskies another week right here on Root Sports Northwest. My name is Dave Softy Mother, joined by Cam Cleland, producer Alex Altman. Big thanks, of course, to our friends at the law offices of Catherine Clark. And Cam, it's been a few days since the game last Saturday. Don't know how many times you've watched what went down Saturday at Husky Stadium, but I lost count on Sunday morning, man. How about you? How about that day? And how about this program?
Where do we start? The emotions from the weekend. We had 2 weeks to get ready for this game. All I heard about was stats. And all I heard about was this, and the juggernauts, and ESPN, and College Game Day. And was there any question in your mind? That is the greatest football game you've ever seen at Husky Stadium. For me, it was. I don't know about all of you out there that are watching, Husky fans. That moment, for me, there was elation. I've been a part of games that have been on the field and on the road and seen at the Whammy in Miami and being, of course, in bad losses. But in the situation, dude, that felt as good as anything when it comes to football in Seattle in the history of college sports. No question in my mind that will go down as the legend game. And I said this during the broadcast, and I'll say it now. Remember where you were as a kid, as an adult, any point in time. Etch it into your brain forever for that moment. And that's how important that game was as Husky fans.
No doubt. And look, we only have a half an hour show. We could be here for 4 hours talking about what we saw on Saturday afternoon. And just in response to your claim about it being the biggest home game ever, maybe the biggest moment in Husky Stadium history, look, I got a hard time denying that, Cam. I mean, 92 Nebraska, 2000 Miami, the 2016 Stanford game on a Friday night was also a battle of two top 10 teams. But when you throw in the idea that this was your hated, heated rival and the Oregon Ducks' final time ever as Pac-12 teams, two Heisman Trophy contenders, two potential Final Four teams, and oh, by the way, it's on national TV on ABC. Yeah, Saturday to me was the greatest game I ever saw in that stadium, and maybe Michael Penix's Heisman Trophy moment, Cam. You look at all the Heisman rankings, and not only is Michael Penix the favorite, he is the prohibitive favorite right now to win the Heisman Trophy. He
did something on Saturday that only a few guys have been able to do. He captured the country, and he captured all of us as fans, because in that moment, and I'll be realistic, and you're up there in the broadcast booth, and I'm watching this game unfold, and you see the catch by Troy Franklin on that third down on the sideline. Incredible football play and catch. Hats off, and this is my only thing. Hats off to Oregon. It's very rare I give them compliment. That's a really, really good football team. That's it. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to give you that credit right there. But in that moment, I went, man, what are we going to do to get off the field? But then to have Michael Penix with 2 minutes and 4 seconds to throw it up like that to Jalen Polk and then make a play. And then to check. And then to see Roma Dunze on that one-on-one. And Oregon put it one-on-one with a safety way over in the corner. And how do you do that? How do you not have safety help? But it was late, and you put it on par. And in that moment, Michael Penix won it with that throw.
Well, we're going to show you some of the emotional scenes from the field, the locker room in just a minute. But let's go back to that sequence there, Cam, okay? So Washington gets the stop on 4th down. Mish Powell in great position to deflect that receiver from getting to a spot. Or Washington takes over at their own 47-yard line, and within 2 plays, they're in the end zone. They even snapped the ball on the second play, the touchdown to Roma Dunze. The clock's rolling with 34 seconds left to go on the play clock. Was there any part of you after that touchdown that wondered out loud if the Huskies did not run enough clock?
I thought about it really quickly, and if you even listen back to for the ESPN, you could hear, did they score too quick? I think it was Chris Fowler that might have said that. I just don't think you change the identity. You don't want to bleed clock. That's not who you are. And first of all, that recognition by Michael Penix was because he saw where the safety was. He immediately recognized the coverage and didn't want to give Oregon time to adjust to that. That's just early recognition, but that's part of the game plan. Is I see it, I recognize it, and then I put it in play, because the execution of where the ball was and the ball skills of Roma Dunze, in that spot. You go after, remember, that corner was knocked out. That's a backup corner he's going against. Well, how do you put that in? You're going to put a backup corner on there? That's part of recognition and understanding where you were in the moment of the game.
Yeah, it's exactly what Ryan Grubb talked about, Cam, after the game. As you know, first of all, the safety that you're talking about there, a kid named Evan Williams, who's a transfer from Fresno, who coincidentally enough was recruited by Ryan Grubb when he was at Fresno State. And now Ryan Grubb is calling a play that results in a touchdown pass one play later. So that was the weird connection there. And then number two, look, in the end, this football team had to make the stop. Obviously, Oregon got the ball back. There's a lot of things we can talk about, a lot of tentacles on that last drive for the Oregon Ducks, but the defense did not allow a point in the final 13 minutes of this game on Saturday. How much credit do you want to give the defense sitting here right now after the way that game went?
Well, if you remember on our show last week, or I was talking about what did this Husky team need to do, and I thought it was the defense that had to show up to be able to make the play to win the football game. And I didn't expect the amount of times that Oregon was going to go for it on fourth down, and we need to discuss that in detail because of where they were at 0 for 3, the critical moment, which Dan Lanning's taken a ton of heat. Okay, that's part of it. When you take a ton of heat, I disagree. I agree with all of his fourth downs except one at half. You kick that field goal, that changes it. But that 4th down and 3, when you needed to go for it at the end of the game, I don't mind that, because if you kick the ball and give the Huskies 90 yards, or maybe you pin them down the 20, they got to go 80. I got confidence that Michael Penix is going to go 80, even on a short field. I agree with that. But the moment when you had to make a play on 4th down, you put it in your best player's hands. Bo Nix, he didn't make the play. When we needed to make a play, you put it in your best player's hands. Michael Penix made the play.
No doubt, no doubt. Let's come back and talk about more of the heroes for UW from this game on Saturday. Take you on the field, take you inside the locker room, capture some of the emotion after a 36-33 win over Oregon on Saturday in the game that will be forever known as Wide Right, baby. We're getting a break. We'll come back after this right here on Talkin Huskies. All right, Dog fans, back here on Talkin Huskies. Huskies win on Saturday over Oregon 36-33. If you're new to the show, welcome. If you've been here all year long, thank you for being with us the entire season. It's going to be a wild ride the rest of the way. Could not thank our sponsors enough, including our friends at Nordstrom Heating and Air. Find them on the web at nordstromheating.com. Cam, I think Husky fans might want to be thanking Dan Lanning and the Oregon coaching staff for some of the decisions they made in that game on Saturday. 2 critical calls that you mentioned in the last segment there. First of all, the decision on 4th and goal from the 3-yard line at the end of half number 1 to not take the 3 and go for it. UW turns the ball over on a Michael Penix interception. Oregon gets the ball back, and they easily could have taken a chip shot field goal to go down 1 point at halftime. Instead, Dan Lanning, the gambler, rolls the dice, and he comes up a loser, baby, at the end of the first half. How about that call by the Oregon coaching staff?
Well, first off, that's who he is. I mean, he didn't change what his mindset has always been, is be aggressive on 4th down. So let's take a look at that 4th down for just a second. You have situations. You get the ball coming out of halftime. So that means that you're trying to capitalize potentially a 2-touchdown swing or 2-point opportunities coming out of there. Then we make the play decision. And we know that Bo Nix, and I said it during the broadcast tremendously, Bo Nix is really efficient rolling to his right. However, in a condensed red zone, you've taken away now half the field. Remember, at 53 yards wide, you've now condensed the field to one side to maybe 20 yards at best. And you're also condensing the end zone because that's only 10 yards deep. So you've just minimized your opportunity. And on rollout, right, you can see how Dom Hampton gets his hand up and knocks that football down. So that's the first situation where I looked at it and said, if you grab those points, now hindsight is 20/20, where were those points matched up? They might have matched up later in the game, because the other factor is you gave Washington emotional momentum heading into halftime. You kick that field goal, everyone's like, okay, that's good. We held him to a touchdown or to no touchdown. However, we got points. You feel good. Washington feels good. Now, Washington feels ecstatic because they stopped you and you're demoralized, and then you're starting to second guess yourself. That was a mistake that was critical.
No question. And how about for UW? Jack Westover on the previous drive on 4th down with a shoestring catch right off the turf. In the end, a couple plays later, as we said, Penix threw the pick, but that play right there saved UW some time and some field position for Oregon as well. So shout out to number 37 for that play. And then the end of the game, or the last drive for the Oregon Ducks before the Huskies score. 4th and 3, 2:11 left to go on the clock. Dan Lanning has since come out and said, look, there was no way we were giving the ball back to Washington's offense because we know what they can do. And conversely, William Inge on Monday, I asked him about that. He said, look, in no way, shape, or form were we expecting Oregon to punt because we never expect anybody to want our offense back on the field. Both teams were thinking the same thing. UW got the stop, they got the ball, and they won the game.
So I 100% agree with Dan Lanning in this situation. You go for it all day long. It was the execution and the decision on why it happened and what you did with your best athletes. Certainly, Dave, if you kick that, punt that ball, you're going to give it back to Michael Penix. No question they're going to go down and score. But let's look at that play yet again. Here you are on 4th down and 3. You've been running the football all day long. You've been giving Bo Nix RPO opportunities, and also his best ability is rolling to his what? Right-hand side. You make a decision that you, again, roll him to his left, which is catastrophic mistake number 1, because now you limit the field yet again to only 20 yards width. You roll him into his wrong dominant side. And then you throw a football when you have Mish Powell have sticky coverage. Jabbar Muhammad bails on Troy Franklin, but it was Tupatala who got in the throwing lane that also created pressure in that situation. The execution, but the play calls from the coaching to see that and not giving your best player, which is Bo Nix, a 53-yard wide opportunity, an inside throw, an outside throw, a scramble ability up the middle, anything. That play call was horrific, and they paid for it.
Now, no question. Hey, when we come back, let's get to the locker room. Let's get to the field after the game. Pandemonium, Cam, on the field. We'll check in with some of the emotion from the Huskies side of things next. This is Talkin Huskies on Root Sports Northwest. All right, Dog fans, back here on Talkin Huskies. Oregon week is in the books. 36-33 win over the Oregon Ducks. Next up, ASU on Saturday. Cam, we'll talk about the Sun Devils in a minute. Again, I feel like this is one of those shows where, hey, maybe we bump the Talkin Ducks guys off the air. Maybe that's a nice little wager for next year. The loser can't even get on TV the following week, and we just take the entire hour and talk about this game. Our producer, Alex Altman, big Duck fan. He's not enjoying producing this show, I can tell you that right now. But how about we go back, Cam, to the field, the emotion. The student section was phenomenal the entire day. I had a chance to catch up with Edifawan Olafosio after this game on Saturday.
We talked during the week about you getting one shot at Oregon, and you pulled it off. How does this feel right now?
Man, it's amazing,
to be on
man.
this field?
It's amazing, man. This shows how much this team has come, man. And it shows that it wasn't a fluke. We here to say, man, we're a real team, man. And we're just going to keep grinding, keep getting better, man. Don't sleep on Washington, brother. Don't sleep on us.
So, Cam, as a former player, put yourself in the shoes of number 5, Eddie Olafosio. Your final shot ever at the Oregon Ducks, and this is what you walk away with to end your career. How about that?
Well, you got a chance to be down there and feel it. And I saw just the storming of the field. That's the first time I've seen it since, man, it's been forever. I think it was 09 versus SC when we won that game. The feeling that those guys had, the elation, and you could see the fans, everybody. And to see Eddie, who's worked his butt off to come back from major injury and be a part of not one, but two chances to beat the Ducks. Now, of course, he got to play in this. It was significant. And every guy that stayed on the field and celebrated with those fans, those students, the parents, the kids, all of them, that will be etched in their brains. And they'll be able to understand that, hey, man, we are part of history now. So happy for every young man that was out there.
Yeah, Cam, just a gigantic party. I thought ABC did a great job with the overhead shot of Michael Penix hugging his grandma, his aunt, his mom, some of the videos and scenes that are now coming out of the game on Saturday. It never, ever gets old. But how about Ryan Grubb? We talked a lot during the week, Cam, about Kalen DeBoer coaching in his biggest game of his life. How about an emotional Ryan Grubb after this game outside the locker room on Saturday?
What does this mean to you, man? Second year in a row, but now you do it in your own stadium in front of your own fans and they're rushing the field right now. It means everything, man. Mike Penix, this is unreal. These kids all are unreal, man. This is amazing. Best win of my life. That was awesome.
So there was actually a point in time in this game where people were wondering what in the heck was going on with the offense. Washington gets the ball back 29-18 with 10:31 left to go in the fourth quarter. And you're thinking from the 8-yard line, man, hey, go 92 yards and blow the top off this thing. Instead, UW goes 3 and out with 3 passes. They give up the touchdown. Then they go 3 and out with 3 passes. And all of a sudden, you wake up the next drive, and Oregon's got the lead. There really was kind of a little moment there, Cam, where this offense was sputtering a little bit.
Well, think about this statistically. We talked about it, and everybody mentioned it. Oregon was better across the board statistically going into the game. It's number 6, best pass defense, the rushes, the stats, the sacks they had, all of that. Let me read you something. Oregon, 31 first downs, Washington 24. Third downs, Oregon was 10 of 16. We were 5 of 11. Total yards, 541 to 415. Turnovers, they had 1. We didn't have anything. Time of possession, Dave, 34-21 to 25-39. Here it is. 0 for 3 on fourth down. 0 for 3 on fourth down. And in the time to make the calls that Ryan Grubb did along with Kalen DeBoer to give Michael Penix that kind of feel. Remember what Kalen said. We practice this. We practice fourth downs. We practice those situations needing to make a play. And you got to give the ball to your best guy. Coach Grubb did that in that moment and then let his players make that play. And oh, did they ever.
Yeah, just looking at the box score, incredible in a lot of ways that UW actually won this game. I mean, there were missed tackles all over the place. MJ Ale on third down, though, before that crucial fourth down play, had a big stop, kind of splitting a gap and slowing down Jordan James for the second time now in the last couple years. UW has had a defender in the right spot on a crucial run play for Oregon. We saw that last year in Eugene with Eddie Olafosio on Noah Whittington when he slipped. But let's also not forget, Cam, we talk about the offense sputtering earlier in the game. Michael Penix was cramping up so bad that he was getting an IV on the sideline, and Ryan Grubb said Monday they were literally pulling needles out of his arm as he's running onto the field. So not only is Michael Penix a hell of a player, but he's tough as heck as well. We're going to break, come back and wrap it up, preview Arizona State next on Talkin Huskies right here on Root Sports Northwest. All right, Dog fans, welcome back to Talkin Huskies. Final segment for us right here on Root Sports Northwest. Been a blast talking about the UW win over Oregon on Saturday. Big thanks again to our sponsors, the law offices of Catherine Clark, and of course our friends at Nordstrom Heating and Air. Cam, as much as we'd love to sit here and talk about the Oregon game for weeks and weeks and weeks and months and months and months, at some point, you got to turn the page. UW had the bye before the Oregon game last Saturday. You almost wish you had a bye now to kind of come down off the high before the game with ASU. This is a Sun Devil football team that was told before the year began they would not be able to play in a bowl game. They're 1-5, coming off a close loss to Colorado. They had the bye last week when UW was fighting with Oregon. The L word, the letdown. How do you avoid the classic letdown at home this Saturday against the Sun Devils?
Well, it starts first with your style of who you are as coaching. And every week has been the mindset of Kalen DeBoer is 1 week at a time because it's a tremendous jump. It's going to ramp up just exponentially, especially when we get in November. But you can't look by these games at all. We know we lost that game in the last year down in the desert. It's a different team. Kenny Dillingham is a different style. They've played in a few close games like Colorado, but it still does not mean you can't come out with major emotion. The emotional letdown coming from an Oregon win like that is what do you do with your team? You get them out of that 24-hour mindset, which you try your best, and you say, let's focus. We can't go back. No more talking about this stuff. It's now Arizona State week, and you have to give them credit going into that game because they're going to come in, and I believe from the top to the bottom, every team is going to come in saying, we're going to knock off a top 5 team in the country. We're going to be the one that has the story. Every team, you're going to get their best game finishing.
No question. For UW, they've got to know that every game they play, playing Washington is that team's biggest game of the year. The rest of the way, Utah, USC, Wazoo, Oregon State, ASU, Stanford, Pac-12 championship, whatever bowl game they play in, every game they play the rest of the year is that team's biggest game. And Cam, for me, for UW, I don't think you have to look any further for motivation than what happened last year in the desert. UW has won 13 games in a row. The last game they lost, October of last year in the desert against an interim head coach. You remember Herm Edwards had been let go. Shot Aguano took over, and now he's gone, and Kenny Dillingham is there. So UW has won 13 straight. They haven't lost a game in over a calendar year, and this whole run started maybe with that loss to ASU.
Yeah, there's lots of motivation. There's a little bit of payback. Yeah, I get it's a new staff, it's a new group, but you're only as good as the game that's in front of you. Your mind, that you can't control the past. This team has to control everything and be focused mentally. And it's hard. That's why they call it a season. And there are things that are called marathons and sprints. Each week is that patience and game planning and understanding going up to it. I think these guys can do it. I think they understand the momentous side of a season that they're on, and keeping that going in and week out. And that starts with your coaches, and they've done such a good job so far, man.
No doubt. We're going to find out on Saturday night. Hope the crowd comes out like they did Saturday versus the Oregon Ducks, a night game followed by a late afternoon game the following week against Stanford at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. All right, that's it for us. As much as we'd love to sit here all day and talk about the win against Oregon, we got to get out of here. For producer Alex Altman, Cam Cleveland, my name is Dave Softy Mahler. We'll talk to you next week right here on Talkin Huskies.